My name is Jeff Morgan. I am from Dallas, Texas. I'm down here in Houston right now, and I'm also speaking with Cody Taylor. And Cody's from around the area. Another family court, I don't want to say victim, survivor, but somebody that has been royally messed over by the courts. Tell us a little bit about what's taking place with you.
Well, thanks for doing this. So I'm around the Beaumont area in Jefferson County, so that's southeast Texas near Lake Charles area.
So this is not merely from Dallas, it's not just from Tarrant County and Travis County. We have a new county just to show that this takes place throughout the entire state of Texas.
The entire state, yes.
We do things bigger in Texas, including injustice.
Absolutely. So in 2015 was when we started this journey, if you will. 2015 was when we separated, and 2016 was when we were divorced. And when we divorced, we had expanded standard possession. All this was agreed upon. We had the same rights and duties. We didn't have many exclusions. In fact, we had equal amount.
Okay.
It was very amicable at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know that I could really fight for more at that time. I was just fresh into it. Attorney said, "You're not going to get this," right?
Right.
As every person that I've talked to just about on as far as a father goes, almost all attorneys are telling you that you're never going to get this.
Yeah. Just be happy with what you got. It could be, yeah.
It could always be worse.
It could always be worse.
It could pay more money. You could be on hook for this, and I feared that. So whenever we were going through trial or going through the finishing stages of that, my attorney came to me and said, we could go in front of the judge, but it's always a possibility.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that. So I wanted the time to be able to spend with my daughter. So fast forward from 2016 to we get to 2019, and some things had developed. The things that developed is the violations to portions of our custody order, which we had in place what's called right of refusal. And that's after a certain amount of time, I'm the first person to be called. It was noticed to me, or brought to my notice, that my ex was in another town for an extended period of time, and I knew nothing about it.
Okay.
Another individual was picking up our child and not allowing me to know that. So
Right.
I filed an enforcement, which you are to do after contacting her. No response, obviously, filed the enforcement, and no more than a month later, they filed a change of suit in 2019, June of 2019. 2 weeks later, they filed an enforcement on me, and they did a lot. They alleged a ton, and
So are you saying false allegations?
So false to the point of I was never in arrears of child support, but because they never filed the document properly from her attorney, there was no case with Attorney General. When there was no case and I went to look for it, I just paid her directly, which now is a huge no-no in the state of Texas because they want their money, right? They want to make their interest.
Right, because they will not get paid, they will not get reimbursement if it doesn't go through the office of the Attorney General.
That is correct. So her attorney found a way to find a enforcement to match the enforcement that I brought against her.
Got it.
During this time, our daughter has been going for about 5 months to an independent counselor that I knew nothing about. So we have rights and duties, and one of those duties is that you're to inform the other parent of these things that are going on. I knew nothing about it. They quit that professional counselor and went to the next one. The next one was a friend of the court.
How convenient.
That woman has been on YouTube more than a daytime soap opera.
Yeah.
Her name runs through the Jefferson County courthouse, Hardin courthouse, and Orange courthouse like it is just toilet paper. It is bad. And she is primarily hired by mothers, by the females. She saw my daughter over the course of 2 months 5 different times. And and that's when they filed the enforcement, the child custody modification. And they alleged all these things that I was unaware of. No idea that she was going. I didn't know that she was going to a counselor until December. So she had been going to one counselor from January until January till April, and then she stopped, and then from June until December was when I found out about it. And then I went. I didn't miss anything, which obviously as a father going through what we're going through, if you're at everything, now you're a problem because you're at everything.
Yeah, yeah. If you're not at everything, you're a deadbeat. But if you're at everything, you're a problem.
Absolutely. And
so you're in a no-win situation.
I don't think there is anybody. And this also goes, and I've heard the female side of this too, because there are some that do the same thing from the male to the female.
Right, absolutely.
And it happens. But anytime that you can show equal support, right, even if you were or were not married,
right,
that's the best thing for the child.
Yeah. The
difference is if you're arguing in front of them, you're making a problem, you're making a scene, those are issues that you shouldn't have. We didn't have that, okay? So in December, we get through all this, nothing has changed. I go to a visit. When I go to that visit, after it's all done, I sit down with this counselor out of Beaumont, who's a friend of the court, and Erica Duckworth. And she sits down, talks to me for 30 minutes afterwards, but she doesn't know I'm recording. And the reason why is because I don't trust them.
Right.
I don't trust anybody that I deal with.
And you make a point here that if you are talking with these people, you have the right to record. Texas is a one-person recording state.
That's correct.
And you should record. Because if you do not record, you will not have the evidence. There was somebody who gave me that advice a long time ago. That saved me like crazy.
And I learned that the hard way on a couple of instances that were brought up. I didn't have it.
Yeah.
And then I now have this. And it's a big issue. And it was because a month later, so we have access to all records, right? When you have joint when you have joint managing conservatorship, you are to share the rights and duties. You're able to get anything that the other parent can have. Same thing, vice versa. So I requested the records. I requested all her notes. I requested everything. A month later, I didn't receive them. So I asked for them again through email. Was sent all the documents that I was to sign, and I was going to take them up there. Don't like to put my information out online. So I went to the office to get the records, bring everything to them, sat down with the secretary, went up, talked to them, signed all the documents, gave them to her, and left. The next day, they filed a criminal trespass against me.
For what?
They claimed that I threatened the secretary. They claimed that I brought a gun. They claimed that I had no appointment. They claimed that I broke into a locked door, and they claimed that I bypassed security. So when I talked to the manager over the building, and he provided me with everything that they had alleged, it was debunked. I checked in with security, it's on footage. I was there for a short amount of time, and I left. Nobody came after me. The funny thing is, underneath the lease agreements, they're to bring any problems to the attention of security. The police department's 4 blocks away. They called nobody until the next day.
Until the next day.
When they did an investigation, and I have that report, absolutely no mention of a gun, absolutely no mention of a broken locked door, no mention of bypass of security. And the reason why I bring that up is because 2 weeks later, they filed a TRO.
Yeah.
By an affidavit of the licensed professional counselor.
Yeah. And right now in Texas, we have a situation where at least just recently, we had a hearing down in Austin, and I know a TRO is different than a protective order.
Correct.
But the whole thing is that we need to make it easier to get protective orders, even if they're based on perjury. That all we care about is that we must make it easier, because it's too hard to get a protective order. Now we have an assistant district attorney who said it's very easy to get a protective order.
Right.
File a protective order. And in the case like you're talking about right here, a temporary restraining order, it's basically handed out like candy.
It is. So within 3 days, we had a trial. But I lost everything to my daughter because once you asked for that, it's temporarily granted and you lose the access.
Right.
I could not go anywhere around my daughter. I could not go pick her up. I couldn't contact her. Couldn't go to the school.
I think this is very important to mention here, because these restraining orders and the protective orders are used as weapons to kick a parent out of a child's life.
It's the beginning phase.
It's the beginning phase. It gets worse.
It gets way worse, because here's the thing. Not only am I having to now decide what I'm going to do in a TRO, I'm also having to decide what my longevity strategy is going to be, because once they put this into play, now they get to start doing all the other things. They get to start talking about ad litems. They get to start talking about custody evaluations. They get to start talking about anger classes. They get to do all these things without any burden of proof whatsoever.
And the other thing now with this, why do they not have an ad litem and a custody evaluator and all these people simply to pick your pocket?
It starts out that way.
Yeah.
It really does. And it gets